Hello and welcome to Something Borrowed, number 8. We're running out of fingers, but we're not running out of fun. We've got some poems, we've got some music this time, we've got some love, and we've got you. Ever grateful for watching, thank you for being here. See you there, here, wherever. Bye!
Wonderful members of the audience, please give it up for the second half of Something Borrowed! Did we enjoy the first half? Yeah. Did we enjoy the interval? Yeah. Do we promise to enjoy the second half? Fantastic. That is a verbal contract. I will hold you to it. Thank you so much for being here. As I said, my name is Harry Baker, and this is a format that's been going for a few years now, where me and a special guest take it in turns to just something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. I'm going to kick off with something old before bringing on our special guests, and then we'll get into a bit of the chat as well. Very excited. This is the March edition. March is my favourite month of the year for many reasons. It is my birthday in March. It is also World Book Day at the start of March, or as my poetry friend calls it, World Bank Day, because it's the one day you're guaranteed a gig. My birthday this year was more difficult because I'm no longer eligible for a 26 to 30 rail card, and that has hit me quite hard, but I'm ploughing through like a trooper, and it is only 28 years till I can claim the senior discount. Other exciting news about this month, it is spring. Getting lighter, getting brighter, feel it in our bones, feel it in our skin, getting that vitamin D. And the other reason that I'm very excited this month particularly is because on the 21st of March, it was World Poetry Day. And I feel bad that I did not know this. I'm more of a national poetry day kind of guy. I'm a national treasure. I'm not yet an international treasure, but I am building up to that. But then I found out on the 23rd of March was World Maths Day. And so I single-handedly proclaimed that the 22nd of March, bang in the middle of World Poetry Day and World Maths Day, should hereby be known as World Harry Baker Day. And I announced this to much fanfare on Instagram by myself, and I assumed that everyone else would ignore me because that is a sensible thing to do. However, I would say up to 10 people got involved with all of the enthusiasm of a primary school child on World Book Day. Someone dressed up as a falafel, someone put on some wellies, someone had a mimosa and claimed that it was related. It was not, but it's still a fun way to spend a day. And so I realized that I wanted to try and embrace those two sides of myself tonight. So my something old is a poem I wrote for an exhibition that I put on in Margate with my brother, who's an amazing graphic designer. He's currently designing my new book. And we both come from mathsy worlds, but don't obviously do mathsy things. In his design, he uses lots of coding and maths. And in my poetry, I love that kind of methodology of it and that logic and that neatness of slotting things together. So we tried to take these different constraints and be inspired by them. And one of the things that we came across was something called a univocalic poem, which is a poem that only uses one of the vowels. You can use it more than once, otherwise very short poem. And you can use all of the consonants, otherwise it is just a sound. And the vowel that I went for is the letter I, and so I've written this poem, and it is called Ingrid. And just a few disclaimers before my vocabulary is incredibly limited. It's got 3 parts, but those parts are written in Roman numerals, so we're allowed 1, 2, and 3. And the other thing is, in the poem, our protagonist, who is a sort of school child, tries to depict old age. And there were only a few numbers available, and I am aware that the number picked is not that old, but this is from the perspective of a child, and so I claim no responsibility for it, especially because I would say that age is probably the age of my core demographic. So, without any more excuses, this poem, set in a school disco, and it goes like this. St. Philip's, 6 p.m. Mr. Smith is spinning discs. Mrs. Sills brings nibbly bits. Crisps, dips, pick and mix. Mini fish and chips. Lidl's pink stripy rings. I'm thinking this is sick. I spy with my tiny iris. Ingrid. Ingrid is Finnish, I think. Whitish trim, Viking skin, stylish kicks, I'm in bits. My skin is tingling. Why is this shirt itchy? This isn't simply shy. I'm bricking it. I timidly try. Hi. Hi. I'm sipping my milk. Slick. It slips. I'm livid. My iris is filling with drips. It stings. Ingrid chips in. Why cry? It spilt milk. I'm dying. Wishing invisibility hits, minimizing this cringing fit. Still, Ingrid is kind. Insisting I trick my mind, Ingrid grins impishly. Try this. Mr. Smith is killing it. In this jiffy, Ingrid is singing. It's tricky, I stick this rhyming with this timing, tricky. Ingrid's lyricism is iffy, still it is brimming with spirit. I find I'm smiling. I dry my skin. I'm chiming in. It's tricky, 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 tricky. DJ Smithy still blitzing it. Pink, NSYNC, Chic, City High, Limp Bizkit. Will Smith. Ingrid spits jiggy with it with vim. I pitch in with if I'm dying in my kip. I think in this sky I will kickflip. Ingrid thinks this is silly still. I'm giddy. My grin is sky high, thinking this night's limit is infinity. My mind is spinning. I'm slightly dizzy. Mr. Smith brings it in with Billy J's tinkling riffs. Lighting shifts. Slight dimming, twinning is implicit. It's simply physics. I find this thrilling. Will this bring my first kiss? I'm chill still, if Ingrid is thinking it. Big if. I'm tilting in. Lips inching. Ingrid is. High-fiving it is. Ingrid winks. Ricky, I'm flying this night. I did my trip with St. Philip's. My British visit will finish. Rye smirk. Ingrid is finished. I'm in crisis. My knight in shining whimsy is splitting. I spy Ingrid's iris brimming. Ingrid sniffs. This timing is. Instinct brings this psychic link. I nip in. Tricky. Ingrid grins. Tricky, 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 tricky. I'm smiling. Ingrid, this night will stick in my mind till I'm 66. With wrinkly skin, spindly limbs, visibly dribbling. Ingrid's gift isn't my first kiss, it's this insight. If I'm crying, I'll try trick my mind with iffy lyrics. Midnight hits. Mr. Smith spins his vinyl disc. Night-night, Ingrid. Night-night, Rick. 2. Skipping, fiddly, middling bit. 3. I'm 30. Big city, living slick-ish. Jim is insisting it's drinks night. It isn't my thing still. If Jim's twisting my limbs, I'm in. It's in this hip district, dingy whilst shiny chic. St. Philip's it isn't. Mr. Smith is missing. This DJ stinks. I'm thinking swift gin, chin chin, Irish pip pip, in my digs by twilight, Will Smith film night. MIB, Hitch, MIB too. King Rich. Whilst I'm splitting, I flinch. My skin is fizzing with this third sight. I spy with my tiny iris. Whitish trim, stylish kicks. It isn't, is it? Ingrid? Thank you so much. Before we bring on our very, very special guest, can we give it up for Ed, who is doing the video and the sound? I say that because it happens every time I finish a poem and Ed goes to sort of check if the video is working, and I think he's giving me a one-man standing ovation. But I feel it, and I thank you for it. So, before we get into any form of chat or interview, I'm just going to make way and clear the stage for our fantastic special guests. Some of you will know them already. Some of you are about to fall in love with them. They've brought their own musical accompaniment, which I'm so excited about. So please make some noise, give some whoops and cheers and claps and stomps of your feet as we welcome the wonderful, brilliant, fantastic Brigitte Aphrodite.
I'm Brigitte Aphrodite. Hi. I'm a local neurodivergent punk poet and gig theatre maker. Half Greek, half kind of, Kent Bromley. That's where I was born. It was now it's Greater London, but it was Kent when I was born there. You may have seen theatre shows that we do, or some gigs that we've done around. You may have seen me walking down the street eating a croissant, because I often do that. But what a lot of people don't know about me, because I don't like to bandy this about, I just want a quiet life with me and my family. I just don't want people stopping me in the street and things like that. What you may not know about me is I am Ronnie Scott's 2019 award-winning kazoo playing champion. Shh, don't tell anyone, okay? I'm very shy about it, okay? Thanks. So this poem song, it started as a poem and then it developed into a song. It's called Crescendorius, and it's a love poem to maybe somebody that you love, or to your own brain. And I wrote it when I was young. It was from a show called My Beautiful Black Dog, which was about accepting that our brains are different, and accepting, that sometimes they get ill, like every other part of your body. And so I meshed two words together, crescendo and glorious, and made a word, crescendorius. I like to make words up because I can't spell any words that exist. And crescendorius to me means a personification of a crescendo. All right, here we go. Oh, this is Quiet Boy, everybody. My creative partner, but also my lover partner of 20 years. Can you believe it? I had a dream last night that you were still mine. I had a dream last night that we were so fine. We were stood in the middle of Soho Square, and all our favourite people were standing there. And I was screaming, I was singing, I am still your girl. I am still, I am still, I am still, I am still. I heard a posh voice in the crowd. It was Simon Amstill. I said, Simon, darling, I'm thirsty. He whops out a couple of cans of Amstill. We glugged them down in 2 glugs. Glug, 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 glug. Then I awoke and realised that we'd not spoken. I woke and realised, and my heart broke, that I'm not still your girl, and I don't know Simon Amstill. If you return, the turntables will have turned. I look like Tina Turner or Cher. You'll be so impressed with my big get-up of hair. If you return, the turntables will have turned. I look like Tina Turner or Cher. You'll be so impressed with my big get-up of hair. I start pins in you, you start pins in me. We made pin-ups of other people's hearts so easily. Now, I used to say how fit and hot other people were in front of you all of the time. No wonder you bumped me, marshmallow frumped me. But now I've learned that everything that's fit becomes unfit and flat, and everything that's hot, hot, hot will inevitably cool down. Actually thinking about it, except for the sun, so you, in my eyes, you'll never be fit or hot. You are the sun, you are the burning, blazing sun, you are the one. And if you return the turntables will have turned. I look like Tina Turner, or Cher. You'll be so impressed with my big against top of my hair nails. Definitely be Tina Turner. Turn around, you're an artist. You want a Turner prize. Now in your eyes, I'm a prize turnip. You said I made life more like fireworks for you and the people that were close to me. Well, that is the most loveliest thing that anybody has ever said to me. And in my fireworking display, you are the starry, starry night. You are the Van Gogh. Any day, you are the head, shoulders, knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes. Toe, woof, woof. Where's toe tingling? Red wine, you are Judy Garland. You are pride. It's a wonderful life. Go bell chime. You are terrible, wonderful, beautiful, the best. Prada shoe, reggae colour purchase from a market stall. String vest, you are crescendorious. You are crescendorious. You are crescendorious. You are crescendorious. You're crescendorious. You're crescendorious. You're like fireworks. You're just like fireworks. You're crescendorious. You are all blimmin' glorious. Thank you. Thank you. And when I say fireworks, I say ethical fireworks that don't annoy dogs, all right? Just imagine those ones, okay? And don't hurt the environment.
Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this for so long. So this goes out as an audio podcast, but also gets filmed and put on YouTube, and we put little clips up as well. And never more so than now do I feel like I want to do a sort of audio description for the podcast listeners. So in an effort to bring a bit more Brigitte energy, I've brought an inflatable rainbow behind us. I'm wearing some sort of colourful trackies and a t-shirt, and then on the way here, a pen exploded in my pocket, so I've got a little bit of permanent damage that I shouldn't be drawing attention to, but here we are. You just look amazing, and you are amazing, and I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you.
Pretty great too, mate.
Could you describe for the listeners your sort of get up?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got, as my daughter says, mermaid DMs on. Yes. I got my odd, now I bought these in my 20s, they're Wolford like stockings, and they've got holes all in them, but they're leopard print. One's red leopard print and one's leopard print. Original, authentic. And yeah, they're wearing out and I don't want them to. I've got some sort of like, it's not Vivienne Westwood, but it's got a bit of zhuzh to it, like Vivienne Westwood. Somebody ripped off Vivienne. A skirt.
Adjacent.
Yeah, and Empathy is a new punk T-shirt.
Come on.
Is from one of our shows, Parakeet. It was from a poem. And a ruff. I've got a bit of ruff around my neck. Made by Ray from Pink Suits. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I don't know where to start because I'm so excited. But I think one of the first full shows of yours I saw was Parakeet, and I absolutely loved it. And the way that you combine poetry and music and art and interaction, I think is just completely stunning. I guess my question for you is, when you have an initial idea, do you know how it wants to come out of you, or is it part of the process to figure out this one's a poem, or this one's going to have some music, or this is going to be a longer piece, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it always starts from like a feeling of something going on around that I'm feeling or seeing. All my words, it starts with words normally. I've tried like non-verbal without words, and it's just I'm just screaming, and people don't want to hear. So it always starts with words, and then we decide whether it stays, like whether you get the point across where it stays as words, or we put accompaniment to it. And I write with like 2 chords or 3 chords on the guitar, and then me and Gaz co-write a lot, and then it always starts with the words and then the songs. So, and it's always got a mixture of those two, and then we sort of loop an arc of a show or a theme throughout it always, because we don't want to lose the audience completely, and we want it to fit into as many spaces as possible. So it can be a gig, but it's nice to sort of tell a story, like like a lot of incredible poets, like you do with your shows. It's so lovely to be able to put all that body of work together and then make a beautiful arc with it. So it always comes from feeling.
Amazing. And I think for me, every poem or like your poem song there has its own sort of arc and journey. So then for the whole hour or the whole kind of show to then be a kind of extension, an arc of arcs, I think is such a nice way of doing it, much like an integrated curve of Sam's. Just to reference something that will not be recorded. Yeah, I love that. My other question for you is, I invented World Harry Baker Day because it was between Poetry Day and Maths Day. If there were 2 things that World Brigitte Aphrodite Day fell between, which 2 things would they be?
Oh my God, that's really difficult. Oh no, I need to think about this. What do I love? Or at the moment, I don't celebrate anything. I just work and look after my daughter, but that is celebratory. So I suppose, I love Christmas because it's glitzy.
Yes.
And then my birthday's on the 22nd, and it's always really. And also, I like January because, well, everybody's really low in January normally, and so it also makes me feel really okay to be low. Do you know what I mean? Because everybody's quite low, so I'm like, oh, this is fine, because we're all, everybody's depressed now. No. So I just feel more at home. So probably between the most depressing day of the year and Christmas, because of the glitz and sequins.
Incredible. I want to celebrate that next year with you. Thank you. I know what you mean. That I remember during COVID, I was feeling completely overwhelmed, and there were times when I was like meant to have a meeting with someone, and I just said, I can't do it because everything's a bit much. And it felt like in that period, that was an understood thing. And whereas now that we're not in a global pandemic, it feels like it's no longer as acceptable to say to someone, I just can't. It's just all a bit much right now, even though it still is for so many people for so many reasons. And I think it was a horrible time for so many people. But one of the things that came out of that, it felt like there was a bit of an understanding that we weren't all going through the same thing, but the same thing was happening to everyone. And so I think that sense of actually everyone's having a rough time, so I'm not alone in it, is a weirdly cathartic thing to feel.
And
So,
actually, Stranger Harry, that was a similar thing. This awful thing was happening, but that honesty that you could be like that, I completely relate to it. And I think everybody came out. If you didn't come out with too much trauma from the pandemic, which a lot of people did, and they lost people, it was awful. But let's remember looking at the flowers coming up. Let's remember hearing all the birds and not much. Let's remember, and then it just goes. It's like capitalism on steroids, where we come back. Like, oh no, what about let's remember? And I think that's a really nice. It's a nice thing to remember and you bring up, because actually we should take a bit of that into our everyday life, of that honesty, and kind of like, because also we will thrive more if we have that exchange and that honesty. We will all have better relationships, have better friendships, do our jobs better if you get given that space. Talking about that, been working a lot on an access rider. So
maybe a lot of you have heard of it, but for those of you who haven't, it's like a document, just one page, of things that have become challenges before because our society is not set up to, always work for people that have, different brains, different bodies that work differently, and it's not their problem, it's society's problem that doesn't allow for that. And so an access rider has been a really helpful thing within that, of like putting those things in place, to say, sometimes I feel overwhelmed when there's a lot of jobs on and we're working towards a theatre show, and so I'll respond abruptly, or you'll just get voice notes off me, but please, I'll come back round, and it's been very helpful in that.
And if you found people responded to that in the spirit it was given,
I think it's quite new, and so I think people are adjusting to it. I try and do it as kindly as possible as well, not like I'm just going to edit my access rider so I can have a little dig at you. I try not to do that. Me and my friend who's a poet, that she's amazing. She's done this night. Our friend,
friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show. Yeah, Neelam Saradia Brayley. She works with access support with me as well. She's incredible talent as well. But yeah, we have considered going, let's change this so that producer, and then it's like, no, we both go, no, come on, breathe.
I will say the rainbow balloon wasn't in any kind of rider. That was a voluntary suggestion.
I just won't come unless there's a right background, darling.
Amazing. Are you up for me doing something new?
I'd love to hear
Fantastic.
something new from you.
So I've been quite busy the last month or two, and I don't like being the sort of person where someone asks how you are and you say busy, because I just think there's more to life than filling it. But part of that, it's been 4 really exciting things. So I've sort of allowed myself to temporarily not have a personality, and then I'm coming out the other side. And it's all things I'm really excited about. So I've got a new book that's coming out soon, and I am going on tour alongside that as well. And I had a real moment. My last book took me 8 years, and there was a pandemic in the middle of that, and a bit of a sort of creative and mental breakdown. And this book has been much quicker. And I think one of the reasons why is that after I finished my last tour, we'd come out of COVID, I'd missed live performance so much, and suddenly we were back in a room and connecting, and that's such a nurturing and fulfilling thing for me. And so when I'm doing it, it feels amazing, and there's a temptation to think, you know what, I want to do this forever, and I do, but I think almost because I love it so much, I knew that what I needed in that moment was to go in the other direction and take a break from that and have enough time to just live a life worth writing about, or experience things, or let myself recharge, or just have dinner with some friends, because those things are as important to me as being on stage and bearing my soul. And so one of the tangible ways this came about was that saved up some money from tour, and then me and Grace went interrailing for a couple of months, and it was it felt like sort of jumping off a cliff in terms of having built up all of this stuff, and just got to a point after COVID where I thought maybe all work isn't going to disappear forever, and then to voluntarily choose to make it all disappear is a questionable choice to some, but it felt important and it felt right. And I think part of that meant that I was able to reset and write for the fun of it again, and come out of it and feel more in touch with the world than ever before. So I feel like it was a good thing to do. But also, I very specifically got this poem out of it, which is simply called Things I Learned from Interrailing. That tiramisu tastes best when it is eaten for breakfast. That lemon sorbet tastes best eaten straight out of a lemon. That there are lemon trees in Italy that are grown from orange seeds. Once the roots are strong enough, a lemon shoot is grafted onto the top. The next time someone tells me I should be grafting more, I would choose to understand this as letting somebody else support you. That hexagons occur in nature from circles being squished together. That I can be physically fit and mentally still fragile as ever. That there's a chance I may just be this way forever. That it is easier to learn to like anchovies than it is to learn the Spanish for why do these olives have anchovies in. that it happened 3 times. It's so specific, I don't know what. Anyway, that my belief in having cultural experiences is stronger than my belief in vegetarianism, especially when it comes to fresh fish in Corfu, or a bratwurst in a German beer garden, or a ham and cheese sandwich in a bus station in Bulgaria. That you can't spell funicular railway without fun. That the harder the climb, the better the view, unless there is the option of a funicular railway. That if you pay 130 euros for a bunk bed on a sleeper train, you absolutely get your money's worth. That if you pay 3 euros for a seat in a compartment of 6 on a sleeper train, you absolutely get your money's worth. That a 30-kilometer loop around a Hungarian lake is a bold choice for the first time you ride a tandem together. And ultimately the last time you will ride a tandem together. That after 5 hours of walking through the woods, when the Romanian locals tell you there are bears nearby, it turns out just because they are laughing does not mean they are joking. That when an Italian hairdresser points to your sideburns and asks if you want your eyebrows trimmed, it is hard to know what to say. His English is a lot better than your Italian. When he corrects himself and apologizes to say that he meant to say sideburns but got distracted by your massive overgrown eyebrows, you will allow him to trim both. That it turns out aperitivo just means serve every drink with tiny snacks, and it is perfect. That a 10,000-kilometer pilgrimage for a Portuguese custard tart isn't entirely worth it. That the food I will miss most will be McCoy's salt and vinegar crisps, Thai sweet chili sensations, and nice and spicy knickknacks. That most crisps in Europe are simply original flavor, which when you think about it, isn't very original at all. That when a gig in Romania offers travel expenses, they do not necessarily mean a 2-month Interrail pass. But it is worth a try. That it is always worth a try. That on your first morning in Cologne, when a man named Christoph tells you he quit his job to set up a clothes shop because you have to live your life, it will be the most pragmatic and profound thing you hear all trip, and almost definitely the most German. That you can meet up with an old school friend for the sole reason you are both in the same city, even though you lived in the same city back home for 6 years and never found the time. That you can't lick the walls in a salt mine, but also you can't not. That no matter how scenic a view is from a train window, sometimes nothing is as beautiful as a nap. That when you comment on how every place you stay in has an incredible shower, that's something you have to accept that it might just be your shower back home isn't very good. That you can get from Barcelona to Margate by train in a day. That as long as I have a poem to be getting on with, I'm okay. That even when your final journey home is delayed by a further hour, when the cafe opposite the station serves a creme brulee the size of your face, you will find it is impossible not to smile. That you thought this was something you could only do when you were 21 and carefree, but it turns out you can also do it when you were 31 and a bit wobbly. That an instant camera might be the best birthday present yet. That days that start the worst can still end up the best. That not everything has to go in a poem, but there is a poem in everything. That nothing beats the feeling of crying with laughter. That fireflies are real and they are actually made of magic. That sometimes it is impossible not to smile. That it is always worth a try. That you have to live your life. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thanks. Are you up for doing something new?
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's like, it's that theme of get out.
Right, I'm going to get out of the way and let you
Is
do it.
anybody else salivating as well? I am. Those creme brulee as big as your face, those custard pies, even the anchovies. Okay, so I can hold this, Ed, can I? Yeah. So I'm going to tell a little story before this. We're going to fly. We're going to fly somewhere in Kent called Tenderton. We're gonna fly to Small Hive opposite Chapel Down Winery. There's no guitar on this one. Do you know that? It doesn't matter. You can sit here if you want. No, it's nice. It's nice. He's been on tour. He only got back last night. I miss him. It's nice. We're gonna kill. Sorry, Gaz. Quiet boy, the rock feminist icon. God. So we're gonna meet Edie Craig and Ellen Terry. Some of you may have heard of them. Some of you may not. Ellen Terry was an actor in the Victorian era, a celebrated actor. She was known for her astounding Shakespearean performances, a kind of Dame Judi Dench / Meryl Streep of her time, a national treasure. Her daughter, Edie Craig, wasn't as celebrated as her mum, but she was equally as legendary. She was a formidable woman, a suffragette who fought for the votes for women. She made plays, multiple plays, put on quite political plays. She set designed. She looked after her mum's career at all cost and legacy, and later in life became her manager, fiercely defending her at all costs. Edie had a beautiful relationship with her mum. They had a lovely mother-daughter relationship. Their relationship was so lovely that they were next door neighbours to each other. And Edie lived with two other women who dressed as men. She was a queer woman. She lived in a three-way romantic relationship, a throuple. And to live that way in the turn of the 20th century was not only taboo in Tenderton, it was shockingly, illegal. Edie, in Tenderton, well, it was illegal. Edie Craig was and is a brave and incredible beacon of queer joy and resistance. Now, when I visited the Edie Craig and Ellen Terry house, they've got a theatre in the back. It's amazing. It's a National Trust building. I found out that the Terry family had a cat called Sappho, named after the ancient poet of Lesbos, Sappho, who wrote words on the Greek island of Lesbos over 1,360 years ago, I think it was. And Sappho was a bisexual woman, and there are hardly any of her words left. There are only fragments of her poetry left, but those fragments are twinkling jewels for us to devour. In 2020, me and my partner Gaz, but mainly me, gave birth to our first child. Because of my heritage, we wanted to give her a Greek name. So we called her Sappho, just to be clear, named after the poet, not the cat. Although we love them fur babies, but no. And we not only thought it was a beautiful name, but it represented all our core beliefs and values in this life. Again, when I visited the Terry house, I also found out that Ellen Terry, the actor, kept a journal. And in that journal, she had this wonderful list that was, she called it the golden list. And it was a bit like what we would know now as a gratitude list. All the things, the most beautiful and grateful moments in her life. One of the memorable entries was when she walked through, as a child, she walked through a field of bluebells in May for the first time, with the golden light sharding through. And the other most memorable entry was the day her her child Edie was born, Ellen had said it was the most goldenest day of them all. So, inspired by that, I wrote a poem. In a poem, my perspective of personal perspective of just the pure joy and a magic of parenting. Tired, knackered, drained. Someone let me sleep, please. Can't sleep. Need to poke the baby, make sure they're still breathing. Poke the baby. Woke the baby. No! Caffeine, 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 caffeine. Now, please. Frazzled, 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 frazzled. Fucked! And not in a good way. Never going to the toilet without two little peepers watching you ever again. Every day is a psychological thriller. Wasps pose a danger sublime. My boobs need a holiday. Need to sleep now, can't fall asleep now. Pure, undiluted droplets of joy. Shower once a week, if I'm bloody lucky. Love like never before, finding Lego in my shoes. A tiny poltergeist that hides my wallet, my keys, my passport, my moon cup. How can a little head smell so delicious? I need a kip. My body's been a house. I don't remember anything. Breastfeeding makes you feel wordless, like a person made of jelly. I smell of meat. I don't even eat meat. I don't remember anything. How can a little laugh bring me to tears of joy? I'm tired. I'm knackered, I'm drained, and I don't know if I told you already, but I just don't remember anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Incredible, incredible. There were some very knowing laughs in the audience from friends who I know have kids as well. So incredible. I guess one question I have a creative partner and I have a lover, and they are not the same person. I do a lot of music with my friend Chris, and I'm married to my wife Grace. And I guess my question for you is, so the way that me and Chris sort of compartmentalise our friendship / creative partnership is we have over 200 WhatsApp groups. And so if we have a new idea, there's a new WhatsApp group for it. One is for business, one is for booking trains, one is for a picture he found of David Attenborough that he thought I would like. And so it's a very inefficient way of doing things, but I think sometimes I found that I just wanted to hang out with my mate and for it to not become a song necessarily. And so how do you decide when you want to make art and when you want to just hang out, or is it all so intertwined it's impossible to separate the two?
That's such a good question, isn't it? And that's so nice to hear about. Yeah, because I've seen you and Chris's shows, and I also know you two as a couple, but also know that you support each other in lots of ways, in those ways. So, I think when you choose this industry, especially, it's like it all becomes a bit intertwined because it's kind of quite hard. It's not hard when we're doing this. This is the best bit. It's just like the admin and the selling, the shows, all that. But I suppose to answer your question, we used to, because we were together 10 years before we started just predominantly making work together. We were supporting each other, going to each other's gigs and whatever. But then how it came about is because I got really ill, and I stopped making work and I stopped going out and all sorts. And Gaz he always knew me to just write stuff and do stuff, and he sort of we were living together, and he followed me around the kitchen with a guitar, but like a lot. And I used to tell him where to go, and then sometimes we'd play along, you know, because it was playful, and so we sort of made a show out of that. So it came really organically and really invasively, like of us just doing things in finding sprockets of joy again through collaborating. And now we have to put some boundaries because Gaz works at night and his brain wakes up after a natural wine, and I don't really drink at all and very much or hardly at all, so I go to bed quite early, and so I'm like, after 7 o'clock I'm like, I can't talk about work, and then I want to talk about it in the morning quite early, and then he's like, no. So we got a bit of advice from, there's a theatre, well, it used to be a theatre and now it's like a community amazing theatre company, I suppose, called Hackney Showroom, who we're associate artists with, and they said, name it. They said, if you're going to have a meeting about something, creative or business, because now we're a business, you know, we've got a company called Crescendorius that makes different theatre shows. They said, name it. And so we've started to try and name it, but it does cross over a lot. And I don't think we've got the balance, you know, especially then the toddler as well. It's all it's all up for grabs, yeah. So it's hard, and we do work with WhatsApp groups as well, and maybe not as many, but a few.
I hope you don't mind me saying this, but Brigitte sent me a voice note saying, I think I'd be really good at something borrowed. And you're 100% correct. But I also... I love a voice note, and I know some people don't, but me and Grace have got some friends that we met when we were interrailing. We were at the start of this like 3-hour walk, and there was only one way you could go, so we were sort of like side by side. And the woman was an English teacher, and the guy was doing a PhD in maths. So I was just like, I'm in. And then we were just like chatting the whole way, and then like about 3 hours in, this guy said, like, how did you get to poetry from maths? And I sort of like gave like the quick version of like, I did my school Battle of the Bands competition, I rewrote Jay-Z's 99 Problems to be all about maths, and then in it there was like a 51-digit pi solo where I just sort of rapped pi. And there was no turning back. And this lovely American guy from Colorado, he just sort of like gently nodded, and he said, "Oh, that's interesting. I can also recite pi." And it turns out he is the reigning North American pi recital champion. And as part of this like fun anecdote, I was like, I can actually do 51 digits, and he can do 18,000. And it was just this like incredible moment. And then his partner Mary was just like, yeah, we had to go to like the recital, and it took about 7 hours, so they had to have like a break for pizza in between. And it's just like a whole thing. Wow. But it was just this amazing like moment. And like, we've not seen them since, but we have a WhatsApp group and we just send each other voice notes. And this is like weird thing where I hope we'll meet each other again, and you don't know sort of how these things will turn out, but it's that kind of, you can stay in touch with people, and also pretty much every exchange starts with apologising because it's been about a month since the last one, but that's quite nice in a way, and it's not a plate that you have to spin, it's a thing that you kind of dip in and out of.
Beautiful. Voice notes are lovely because you just hear somebody's soul a little bit, don't you? And it feels really nice. Yeah, that's such a nice story. Yeah, I'm sorry that I had a coffee, and I was like, I don't think you've done one for a while, whatever. But I was like, I really want to do. It's like, get up. I was like, I really want to do it, Harry. He got back straight away. He's like, yeah.
As soon as you say that, I think I was with Grace, and I was like, yes, absolutely, yes. So very, very happy to have you. Are you up for me doing something borrowed?
Yeah, I'd love it.
So this is a first. This is a something borrowed like request, I guess. So one of the lovely things about this is, as well as getting to record it for the podcast with an atmosphere and with you beautiful people here, been able to film it and put it on YouTube, and then I've put up a few clips as well. And for reasons that I'm trying not to take personally, it's always me reading other people's poems that seems to be a lot more popular than me reading my own. But there was one in particular, an amazing poem called Joy Chose You by Donna Ashworth, that I think was like one of the first ones I did. I'd heard her read it on a podcast, and I thought it was stunning, and I read it. And to date, that me reading her poem has got like 11 million views. And what I loved about it at the time is I'd recently written my own poem of like things that bring me joy, sort of like my golden list in a way. And it was things like doing a wee for longer than a minute. And for a couple of weeks after that, people would message me saying like, oh, I really love your joy poem. And I would have to say, oh, do you mean Donna Ashworth's really lovely poem about joy, or do you mean the one about doing a really long wee? And to date, no one has meant the wee poem. But through that, I've sort of developed this friendship with Donna, and she came and did an online version of Something Borrowed, and she's a stunning writer, and she messaged me to say that she has written almost a sequel to the Joy Chose You poem called Joy Comes Back, and she just wanted to let me know to see if I'd be interested in reading it, and I am interested in reading it, so that's what I'm choosing for my Something Borrowed. And I think not enough poems have sequels. I think when a film does well, it becomes a whole franchise, and we should start doing that for poems too. So I'm not doing a sequel for Ingrid because I've used every single word there is, but maybe I will revisit some other poems. But this is a poem by Donna Ashworth called Joy Comes Back. When you finally realize that joy is less fireworks, more firefly, less orchestra, more birdsong, she will come back much more often. For joy will not fight with the fast pace of this life. She is not in the shiny or the new. She breathes in the basic, simmers in the simple, and dances in the daily to and fro. Joy has been beckoning you for many a year, my friend. You are just too busy doing to see. The very next time joy wraps her quiet warmth around you, as the garden embraces your weary body in its wildness, tip her a nod. She doesn't stay long, but if you are a gracious host, joy comes back. Thank you so much. Brigitte, are you up for doing Something Borrowed?
Yeah, I need your help. I was gonna do well, my favourite little poem, but I'm not going to do that. When it was a Wendy Cope one, Giving Up Smoking, because I could relate to it in my 20s. But actually, I'm going to ask your help. I'm going to tell you a little story. So, tell you about somebody, Pablo Franque. Who was he? He was a dual heritage black man in the Victorian era who was born in Norfolk in a workhouse, and by the age of 10 we know he was in an orphanage. As a fairly young boy, he started to shadow an equestrian, quite famous equestrian performer, and then as a young man, we know that he joined the circus, perfecting his tricks with horses and doing tightrope. Then Pablo entrepreneurially started his own circus. He had one clown and one performer with a dog, really humble beginnings, but his circus grew and it became one of the most celebrated circuses in what is known as the golden ages of circuses. The Victorian era wasn't a kind place if you had brown skin in England, and he went through a lot of hardship and racism throughout his life. He was known to be... He was lauded by the press and the public alike. Everybody loved him. But he was more importantly known to be an incredibly kind and fair boss. And in older life, he spent more and more time putting on big benefit gigs for retired and injured circus performers and big charity shows to raise money for orphanages because of his beginning. Pablo Franque really was the greatest showman, and in my humble opinion, that film should have been about him. Let's fast forward 157 years into the future. To a band you might have heard of, a little band. The Beatles were recording Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and they were on their lunch break. And John Lennon, he was walking down the high street, tucking into an egg butty. It was all dribbling down his face, probably. And he walked into an antique shop. And in this antique shop, there was a poster that caught his eye, a giant, incredible, bright, wonderful poster. It was an original circus poster from the Victorian era. It was a Pablo Franque circus poster. It was a benefit gig for a retired circus performer called Mr. Kite. And in that moment, you can pass this little, doesn't do it justice, poster around. This was it. And so a legendary song about a legendary man in that moment was born. So I have some little words. They are quite little, actually. Do you want to pass them around? And we can have a nice music hall sing-along if you want. If you're up for it. Okay, let's do it. Right, you ready? We can mumble along, we can sing, we can do harmonies. I mean, I can't. For the benefit of Mr. Kite, there will be a show tonight on trampoline. The Hendersons will all be there, late at Pablo Franque's fair. What a scene! Over men and horses, hoops and garters, lastly, through a hogshead of real fire. In this way, Mr. K will challenge the world. The celebrated Mr. K performs his feats on Saturday at Bishopsgate. The Hendersons will dance and sing as Mr. Kite flies through the ring. Don't be late, Mrs. K, a nature sure the public, their production will be second to none. And of course, Henry the Horse dances the waltz. The band begins at 10 to 6 as Mr. Kite performs his tricks without a sound. And Mrs. H will demonstrate 10 somersaults they'll undertake on solid ground. Having been some time in preparation, a splendid time is guaranteed for all. And tonight, Mr. Kite is topping the bill. Thank you. Award winning.
Incredible. Give it up one more time. Excellent work. Thank you so much. Before we do something blue and wrap it up, is there anything you've got coming up that you're working on that you want to tell us about?
Actually, yeah, I do.
Come on.
What was I at?
So I've asked you a question just to sort of getting your breath back.
I've got sad, and this is very appropriate for something blue. This is sad. I've got some things if anybody wants them. It's gone on the Marlow next week, mine and Gaz's show. And that's us on the back doing all that stuff. And this is, if our other shows was like Wham, this is when George Michael has gone solo, and it's our classiest show to date. Quiet Boys composed all the music. It's a musically driven experience which explores how cycles and life and light affects us in grief. It's personal but universal, with a lot of voices of people from Margate actually around grief and loss, but it's not depressing. It pulls you, it breaks your heart, and it pulls you back together again. And there's funny moments in it too, and it's a wonderful show. That's the 3rd, 4th and 5th at the Marlowe Studio at 8 o'clock. Please come. Lynn Gardner said it was a gift to its audience.
Come on.
So, if anybody wants a flyer later on the way out, I think I've got them in my jacket or somewhere digged in there. Yeah.
I saw it at the Tom Thumb.
You did?
And what was amazing was that there are so many voices in it, but some of them were then in the room, and that felt especially like thin is the word that I want to say. It felt raw, and it felt like everyone was being held, and sort of you handed out tissues in advance in anticipation of that. And I think it's such an important thing, I think, to consider your audience as well as yourself. And when you do put so much of yourself into it, and when it is personal, when it is raw, and you're doing that again and again, I think and I think that was an early version of it, but it feels like it's really thoughtfully done as well. So as an audience member, I really appreciated that, but I don't know how that's been for you to perform something so personal repeatedly, because I know that your relationship with it might change over time. And how's that been?
Yeah, it's been, I mean, Gaz can probably talk about it better, because the catalyst for the show and making the music for the show was Gaz's beautiful mum died, and a lot of the process of the show is around making music and sounds and having conversations with people for as a motion of healing. You know how music heals, and we've done some research with people that work in the field of how sound can affect our mood and things like that. And I think the music, because it's composed and we're just pressing, and there's not loads of us talking in it, not loads. It's a raw show, especially for Gaz. So I'm like, all right, come on, let's do it. And I'll go and sell the tickets, and then I'll come and I'll get my sequins on, and I'm like, right. But yeah, it is raw. But I also think it is a little bit healing, because I think when you do lose somebody, I think, like, as far as I know, being by his side, that, you know, I think when you're not, you can't believe that they're not here, and when you're not talking about it, or you're not, you know, the world goes on. And so to play that music, you know, every night we did it in Edinburgh for 10 days, and to play that music every night and to share sounds of that story was kind of a bit healing in ways, wasn't it, as well? Yeah.
Well, thank you. You up for me doing something blue?
I'd love that. I'd love that.
As often happens during these shows, I have an idea of what I want to do, and then over the course of the evening it changes. Because I've done so many of these, like, there's always new things, there's always old things, and borrowed. The reason why I started doing this show is I loved hearing the other poems that people brought to it and seeing how that had inspired them, and getting to share poems that I love from other people, which is why sort of Something Borrowed became the name of it. But Something Blue I love because it is open-ended, and lots of people have taken that to be something sad, and some people have just done poems about the boy band Blue, and there aren't enough of those in the world. But because I've done sort of over 30 poems tenuously linked to the theme Blue, I barely even try anymore to make it relevant. So my link this time was going to be that this poem is from my book, which is Blue, which is true, but I'm going to do a different poem from this book. So it's still Blue, but it's, I guess, more apt. And I think you're amazing, and I think the way that you give all of yourself to your work is a gift, and it is so generous, and thank you for that. And I've not had an awful time, but I've just felt a bit flat recently. And I think sometimes we only talk about mental health when it's gone really bad, or when we've come through it and we talk about it in the past tense. And I think even acknowledging that some days are just sort of 4 out of 10 is helpful to me to hear. So, but one thing I've really been looking forward to is this. So thank you, and thank you all of you for being here, from the open micers to Will to Ed to everyone, because it's such a lift and it's such a joyful thing to be a part of, and I don't take that for granted, so thank you. So this poem is just called Some Days. I wrote it when I was, I guess, feeling similar. Some days there is a lightness, when the brilliance of everything around you becomes heightened, when there is more to life than indulging your quarter-life crisis, and you owe it to yourself to try and put this down in writing. I promise I will never stop trying. Even when it's hard to, I find the prospect far too exciting. We forget the bar we set has the capacity for rising. Where it is left, it's just the version we have given up revising. So this is HB 2.0.1 and a half. Current draft. The water's running warm, so past the bubble bath. When the going gets tough, it's tough to get going. A dialogue that stuff is hard, but if we come together, there's a chance we might not come apart. Whether or not it's growing on the other half. The grass is always greener when you love the grass. Remind myself when faced with tougher days that there are some that aren't. It might not feel like much, but then again, it rarely does when it is just the start. I've never met a second step as terrifying as the first one. I've never met another person there wasn't a chance to learn from. The more that we spend time with the uncertain, the more we can apply when we revise our current version. There is a point when unknown becomes home and throws you unaware. When you've been near the table long enough to now pull up a chair. When the place you knew as new asked you if you have cut your hair, you feel the corners of your mouth and soul and notice something's there. Some days there is a lightness. When it becomes all but impossible to stop the world from glowing. There are still shadows in between, as I wish some days into most days. But on those days, I will read myself this poem. Thank you so much. This is my favourite bit of the evening, where I'm technically done my bit, so I can just sort of go off and watch and enjoy it without thinking if I've forgotten to do any admin. So I am just gonna make way for the wonderful Brigitte. Before I do, I am about to go on tour, and I'm doing 2 gigs elsewhere, and I'm so excited for it. So that is on June the 4th and the 5th. And so lots of that is stuff I will have done when it was brand new here. And so if you would like to come and see some full shows there, that would be amazing. And then also we're back here, I think it's on the 16th of April, with the amazing Laurie Bolger, and it is Anne's birthday. And all she would like for her birthday is for this to be sold out. So it's not, if not for me, then for Anne. But otherwise, thank you so much. I will come back and do a big round of goodbyes, but before that, can we give it up one more time for the wonderful Brigitte?
Okay, right. I'm gonna finish with. Oh yeah. So no, it's all don't be. It happens. I'm going to finish with a small story of somebody that isn't all sad, but I think that there's change to be done, and a tribute to them. So, Marianne Joan Elliott Saeed. Later in life, they joined the Hare Krishna movement, and they changed their name to Maharani. Who were they? They were, a dual heritage brown woman who started their life in Bromley, like all the greats. And at a young age, their family moved to a council estate in Brixton, a very racist society in the 1970s. And they went through a load of racist rubbish growing up. At the age of 14, they had an adventurous spirit. And Marianne jumped on a train from London to Hastings and walked down to Hastings Pier and caught one of the very first Sex Pistols gigs. It was that night that Marianne found the channel to put everything, all their energy and everything they had to say in this world through the vessel of punk music. Marianne jumped back on the train to London and the very next day put a advertisement into the legendary music publication, The Melody Maker. And the advertisement read like this: for young punks who want to stick it together to form a band. The advertisement was successful and a new band was formed, X-Ray Specs. Marianne created a persona for herself, polystyrene, and she wrote all the words to the songs. She made all the DIY artwork, and she was a self-styled fashion icon. She carried on being an artist for the rest of her life. When the band broke up, she had a lot of she suffered with mental health illness, and she got misdiagnosed from an early age when she was in that band with schizophrenia, when she actually had bipolar disorder. And we think, from our experience of working in the arts, working in bands and music, and the experience of our friends, that the entertainment industry still have a very long way to go to protect these incredible spirits and people that they have in their midst. We're getting better, but not quick enough. Sadly, Marianne died in 2011 of breast cancer in Hastings. She is survived by her incredible, powerful daughter, Celeste Bell, who got left with her archive, and there was loads, and it was quite a responsibility, and she's made 2 incredible pieces of work that I'd highly recommend. One is a documentary called I'm a Cliche. It's brilliant. Because it's her daughter, it's really real, you know, it's not just sycophantic. It celebrates how incredible she is, but it's real. And this incredible book, coffee table book, Dayglow. So this last bit for Something Blue is a tribute to an incredible artist from me in the punk era and forever and beyond. Thanks. No rush, you do your thing. How can I write words for you when words is what you so geniusly did do? Oh, how can I sing a song for you when the way you sang scorched the bullshit in two? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Polystyrene. Out of something plastic came a punk icon queen. Bashing boundaries, thrashing foundries, so much to say. A desire to be free. The most exquisite style our eyeballs had ever seen. A philosopher in a band, sensitive and strong, never flipping bland, oh so much to say. Longing for that natural world of Bromley Brixton, Somali Hastings girl. Not too sensitive for this world needs to be kinder, individual nurtured, not weighed down. And when they're dead, celebrate their crown. Jumble of words about you, nothing fancy or bright, just a tribute from a fan. Oh, here is me showing my respect to you. I'm a speck, you are everywhere. Oh yeah, Oh yeah. Polystyrene. Out of something plastic came a punk icon queen. Bashing boundaries, thrashing foundries, so much to say, a desire to be free. The most exquisite style our eyeballs had ever seen. Young punks wanna stick it together the day the world turned day glow. Anti-Wonder Woman, she would not be quiet, she would not be pretty. The kids were taking over our towns and our cities. You wearing your bright colours on your outside, showing us your inside. Your daughter does you proud. They asked you what you thought the future sounded like, Polly. You said, maybe the sound of a Hoover. Maybe the sound of a Hoover. This non-cliche, she blew us away. This non-cliche, she blew us away. Pretty incredible woman. Woo. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Quiet Boy. Thank you, Grace.
Speaking of blowing us away, give it up one more time for the one and only Brigitte Aphrodite. And can we give it up for Quiet Boy on the accompaniment? For all of yourselves, for Ed, for Will, for Grace for doing the door, please get home safe and please all come back next month to celebrate Anne's birthday. I cannot wait. You are the best. I love you. Never change. Good night.